Welcome to the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. This is a show about pushing through obstacles and hard times in order to live a happy and fulfilled life. I'm your host, Ted Phaeton, and it's a pleasure to have you joining us. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Let's grow. Players mess up sometimes. Welcome back, everybody, to the No Rain, No Rainbows podcast. I'm going to leave that in there. I'm going to start the episode with that. Players mess up sometimes. Thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to my executive producer,
What's
Andre
going on,
Settles.
everyone?
He's in the building.
Andre J.
Andre with the J.
Yeah, if y'all don't know, my name has a silent J at the end.
Yeah. We just
It's imperative y'all know that.
we just concluded that. And shout out to our guest today, Leann Loftis.
Hello.
Yeah.
Welcome.
What's up?
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you. I'm
Hey,
super excited.
You having a good time so far?
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. We're going to ease you into it nice and slow. And we always start with you introducing yourself to our listeners.
Awesome.
For anybody who might not live in the Greenville area or know who you are, why not let them know who you are and what it is you do?
Great. My name is Leann Loftis, and I go by Leann just to keep it short.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually a Greenville native, been here all my life, and I did move away to Atlanta area for just a few years, but I was ready to come back and be in my hometown. Started up a business a little over a year ago, and it's been going great. Getting a lot of great feedback from just the support of the community. Know so many people in this place, so it's great. It's a lot of good connections, and it's been fun.
Yeah.
It really has.
And speaking of connections and the people in the community, we actually know someone in common, and she's a listener,
Oh, cool.
Lauren Elise.
Oh, hi, Lauren.
Yeah.
Yes. Many
Shout out.
years ago. Yep. Gave her a massage, and I remembered it ever since.
Nice.
And yeah, so that's really cool. Cool what you guys do, getting up early in the morning,
Oh, we try.
giving us all the info that we need.
Yeah, spilling the tea every morning,
Yes.
right? So talk about the change you've seen in Greenville, because you mentioned you've been here, and I've only been in Greenville, South Carolina for 6 years. And in the 6 years I've been here, I've seen the secret kind of go nationwide for everybody knowing about it.
Yes.
But being that you've kind of seen the growth, at least over the past 10 years, what has that transition been like?
I would say it's like bittersweet. I remember being in high school, and I was like, I can't wait to get out of this small town, and I was going to move out west, and that was my plan. And either like a relationship or being in school has always kept me here, and I'm super thankful of it. But when I moved back from Atlanta, I noticed all my back roads were taken, and everybody was figuring out the road. So like the traffic's gotten a little worse, but overall the growth has been great, and it's just neat. Every time we would come back from Atlanta, just seeing new businesses, new restaurants, like all, from bigger cities that would come here. That was kind of cool. But one thing my husband said, and I always remember, he's like, when you're living in a big city, when you see like construction just all the time, that's when you're like in a big city. So now I'm seeing that here. It's just constant, just building and building and building. So it's cool though. I love it. It's great. I like just everything becoming modernized and just, I think it's great though.
I do find personally, because obviously I haven't been there from the beginning to the end, that Greenville still does have that like small hometown feel to it.
Yes.
I heard somebody compare it. They described it perfectly. They said it's small enough to feel homey and small, but it's big enough to be convenient with what you want and what you need.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of toting that beautiful balance right now.
Yes, it is a good balance. So I'm like, everybody don't know about us. Don't find out about us. We just want to keep it right in the middle, like medium sized.
Yeah. Well, you can come visit. You can come visit, but you can't stay.
Can't stay. Exactly. Exactly. We're full.
Talk about your trip to Atlanta for a while, because I heard in your voice when you're like, I was ready to come back. What was your experience like there?
So like I said, I had always imagined myself moving out west, but my then boyfriend, his job was transferring and opening a new location in Atlanta area, and he asked if I would go with him, and I had an opportunity actually to move to San Fran with a friend. So I was kind of between the two, and I was like, well, this will be a free life, in Cali, kind of what I wanted, or the guy that I love, who's actually my high school sweetheart, and we came back and, connection again. This could be something serious for us. So I chose him, and we moved there, and it was great. We had a lot of fun, met a lot of cool people, but by the time we got engaged, I was just ready to move back because, it's a little overwhelming with the traffic and other things. So I was like, in my car for 2.5, 3 hours a day. And
Yeah.
I was taking a toll on my back physically and my car. So I was just like, take me back to Greenville, where it takes like 15, 20 minutes to get anywhere. So
Yeah, and I could.
But it's cool.
I can relate to that because I grew up in Long Island. So
yeah.
living in New York, I knew what it was like. I worked in the city for a while, and I'm talking about waking up at 6 a.m. to get to work by 9 a.m. I
Yeah.
was
Oh
leaving
my
the house at 6:30, taking the train, or if I drove, it's 2 hours to commute. So I know what it's like when you spend most of your time in a car or on a train. Where does the time go?
Yeah.
And then you're always in the quote unquote rat race. So I know what it's like in a big city.
Yes.
And for any of our listeners that are in a big city, I hope you make good use of that time, because in hindsight, it's always 2020. All the hours I was on the train or in the car, I could have been listening to podcasts, audiobooks, growing.
Yeah.
But I didn't utilize it wisely. So if you're stuck in that rat race, utilize the time wisely. Coming back to Greenville, and you mentioned starting a business.
Yes.
What was that journey like?
Well, it had been a long journey. For 10 years, I was in my profession working for a popular massage franchise.
Yeah.
And I grew a lot with the company. I learned a lot of the front of the house, the back of the house. I worked closely with the owners doing marketing, advertising, stuff like that. So I got a really good business sense. I had attempted twice to go out on my own, but it wasn't wasn't the right timing, honestly. And the move to Atlanta helped me grow even more business minded, because I had an opportunity to do something on my own there, and I got the feel of it, and everybody was all, small business or big business. So it caught on, and that was another part of our plan moving back to Greenville was my husband do barber school, and I opened my own salon or spa. So
Nice.
I've been a massage therapist for over a decade, and I've also got my esthetician license, so I do skincare as well.
Nice.
And then about 4 years ago, I became a certified stretch provider. So I collected everything. I was like, I know this stuff. I was training for it all, and like training other employees where I worked. And I was like, I can do this. So it was very scary. It was about the scariest thing I've ever had to do was turn in my 2 weeks notice.
I'm sure.
But it was all, thanks to him, God's grace, and it's just kind of taken off, and it's been really great, great feedback from everything. So
before unpacking starting the business and all that, I'd love to go back to the start of your journey, getting into therapy or whatnot. And right before the podcast, we were talking about, so I don't want to butcher the name, Leanella?
Yeah, so you did good.
Okay, I tried.
It's feminine for Leon, so it's Leon, I-L-A.
Okay.
So it's Leonella. So
Leonella Ann.
yes.
Okay.
Very good.
And so you mentioned that you were named after your grandmother, and that kind of was part of the story of you getting into therapy in the first place.
Well, not in the first place. I found out like midway about that. So what's really neat is before I was even born, my father was in the military, and he got stationed in Guam, which is right by the Philippines. And he met my mother. They began dating, and he actually got ill-stricken and was put in the hospital for like weeks to months. And nobody knew what was wrong with him. But, I mean, as he explains it, he was on his deathbed pretty much. The first time he ever met my grandmother, Leonilla, she brought him some like herbal concoction that she had made, like old country, like that's how they do. He drank it, and he was out within 3 days. So he, after that, was just like all about alternative medicine. And since, I was little, he would always, anytime we would feel sick, vitamin C, echinacea, we would do ear candling, we would, the massages, like he did, and then acupuncture and also chiropractic. So that was part of his life. Not so much my mom, which is weird because she's Asian, but maybe she was just used to that. I don't know. But more so my dad like implemented that into our livelihoods, I guess. And then it was like 12 years old. I remember going to the chiropractor with him and just seeing her manipulate his back. Like I thought it was massage therapy, and I was quite impressed. And I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do one day. I'm going to be a massage therapist. Yeah. And I went around massaging friends and all my family, and I got really great feedback. And my mother was the one who said, oh, well, you'll get arthritis in your hands early. You don't want that. And I'm like, no, I don't want that. So, of course, as a young kid, I just threw that idea away and just continued on living my life. And after high school, I didn't really have much plans, planning for school, college, or whatever, like most of my friends did. So I started working in the restaurant, which, I loved it. I loved working with people. I was happy to do it. And I just, after like 6 or 7 years, I was just like, okay, this is like way too long.
Yeah.
I know there's more to me. So I was bartending actually at the time. And I was just, I started to pray. And I was just like, I know there's more to me. I know there's more potential in my life. So I just really started just honing in and praying about it. And my father and I were worshiping at this local church. And we were at a prayer group meeting. And this lady kept looking at me and asking me, she's like, do you work with your hands? And I told her no. And she looked up at me like again, and she was like, God is showing me a vision of your hands, and he's telling me you're going to work with your hands one day. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And then like literally 3 weeks later, I interviewed at this place, the massage chain that I was telling you about. And I loved it. I got the job. I started working up doing front desk sales and started asking the therapists why they chose that field. And it just inspired me to go to school and study. And for that whole year of massage therapy training, I loved it. And I had a great instructor, and I loved my class. I still keep in touch with some of the girls. I work with some of the girls still. So it was great, and it opened more doors. Like less than 6 months later, we were going to convert to a spa, and my boss asked if I wanted to go back to school and get an esthetician license. And I'm like, I've always been into hair, skin, all that stuff. So yeah. And that was 6 months. So that's,
yes, please.
Yeah. So caught that right up. And then, I just started doing my thing, and I loved it. Like, it's just been a really great ride.
Yeah. It's amazing how things come full circle.
Yes.
Because seeing that you started wanting to go down the path, and then
Yes.
you went another direction. It's like when I first got my first TV job, or first started studying broadcast meteorology, I didn't remember until I first started studying weather and got my first TV job. Someone pointed out to me that my freshman year of high school, we had to do a project. It was a Spanish project, and we had to film a newscast. And I was the meteorologist.
Oh, cool.
And I did like a weather forecast in Spanish. I can't speak Spanish to save my life now, but I did a weather forecast in high school speaking Spanish. And somebody pointed that out to me. It's like, I thought you did such a good job, and I'm not surprised that that's what you're doing now. And obviously
awesome.
hindsight's 20/20, but would have never thought I would have ended up down that path if you would have told me in high school I was going to go there.
Yeah. So while I was in school, I do recall I was finishing up doing an internship, and I was about to massage. I call her a veteran because she had been doing massage, like an OG, and and as soon as I laid hands on her, she told me that I had healing hands, and I was like, really? Like, that's awesome. So that's when I went home and told my mother the compliment she had given me, and my mom was like, well, you're named after your grandmother, who actually was a healer in the Philippines with her hands.
Wow.
And people would come see her when they had pain or rashes or something, and she would lay hands on them and she would heal them. So I do believe it was predestined, what I do now.
What was that moment like when you heard that story? And it's almost kind of like almost validation.
Yeah, it was validation for sure. I mean, it was just like, I'm 24 and I'm just finding this out, but it was.
You could have told me this.
I know, yeah.
Back when you told me I was going to get arthritis, you could have told me I had healing hands.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So I say there's someone in her generation that has maybe a gift as well, because I do feel it. I feel it with clients, and some clients feel it as well. There's definitely like a connection. It's like, for me, it's a very intuitive thing that I do. I close my eyes about 90% of the time when I'm doing a massage. So I just let my hands be the guide. And sometimes people don't even have to tell me where they're hurting or what they're dealing with. Like, I can actually feel it. And
Nice.
Yeah. So massage therapists are very special creatures, and I've met a few of them that are, maybe be out there, with I don't know. I don't even want to say that, but I'm me, and I just.
Would you say you're almost an empath?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't go as far as to look into it too much, but I mean, I will cry at commercials. I don't mind crying. My whole family makes fun of me because I'm so sensitive, but I care about people. I'm very passionate, and I thank God for that all the time, because I feel like that's my mom's heart too, and I mean my dad too, but more so my mom. Both my siblings and I were all in just like kind of the health field that we give back to people. My brother's a social worker and my sister's a cardiac nurse. So
wow.
yeah, so
Well, thank you for what your whole family does.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. I sense a lot of like holistic practices here, like, you know, healing naturally instead of resorting to medicine, where oftentimes that could it could solve the symptoms, not necessarily the problem.
Yes.
How important is it to you when you're treating a patient, when someone comes in and, you know, like for example, my neck right here has been hurting me, and I've kind of learned through life, it might not be simply because I slept on it funny. Maybe I'm holding some tension there from something else going on in my life. How do you start analyzing that and break that down?
I really, you know, once I'll gather all the information that people want to give me, like what's going on today, like how are you feeling, you know, and I take everything that they say in as, you know, as collateral, and I'll use that, but laying hands on them too, I might feel something different, you know. I try to get to the root of the problem. I don't try to just, you know, superficially just like, okay, you're good, we just rub lotion on you and you're fine. I really try to figure out like why that area might be hurting you, like, you know, and I try to help people become more mindful. So I do like to give my clients homework, even if it's just daily deep breathing exercises. Some people don't even realize it, but they hold their breath when they get stressed, and that just like collects so much more, and it can manifest into bigger problems. So I treat each body and each person differently.
Yeah.
So it is, it's a special thing that I do, and it's an experience for me and my clients, I would say. But yeah, I do try to get to the root of the problem, even if it's just their posture, like what they're doing day to day. And sometimes it is directed to emotional trauma or, you know, a lot of times physical trauma. So I'll tell people that too, depending on what you've gone through, physical, emotional, or mental. If you don't deal with that stress correctly, it can manifest and just create a whole lot of problems. So I've laid hands on people that have, you know, had really traumatic experience and stuff, and I just want to help them. And you know, once they start seeing me regularly enough, you know, I'll ask them like, so are you feeling better? Like, are these making a difference? And they can. And that's what, you know, I live for. That's what I work for, and that's you know, the cherry on top. That's the cherry on top.
I'd like to unpack the breathing thing a little bit, because I feel like recently I've been reading a lot about the power of breathing and how most people don't use breathing properly, and using it to release energy, to fill their body, to ease tension and whatnot. I guess, what can you share with us that we can maybe practice? Let's say someone's in the car right now listening, and they're like on their way to work, and they kind of want to breathe out some stress. How can they go about that?
Yeah, I usually encourage clients to count. It's pretty known out there. It's not anything special I do, but you know, just a simple counting to 4, inhaling. You can hold it for 4 up to 6 seconds if you can, and then just release with 4 seconds. So just any kind of deep breathing is good. You know, if I lay hands on someone and they're carrying a tremendous amount of stress, you know, I'll focus on their like diaphragm and just see. And some people are just super shallow, and I'll start to deep breathe in my session, and some of them will collectively just do it.
Sure. That's what I remember when I got a massage. She was like, it's important to like be intentional when you're deep breathing versus just like breathing. And like I'll be getting, I got a massage and I've gotten stretched, and both times where you'll be sitting there and you won't realize it, but you know, something may be on your mind, and you hear that person exhaling, and like literally I'm just like halfway out of my breath, and I think I'm done, and I'm just like,
you have more.
you got more to let out, but I don't know why you're holding it in, you know? So I can personally attest to that. That's crazy, because I mean, during them you'll catch yourself breathing a lot deeper than you're used to, but just that intentionalness of that intentionality of breathing that deep helps you. And I like it.
I worked with another therapist a couple weeks ago, and he contested. He was like, you do what I do. Like, you breathe in people's stuff and you release it. And I never really thought about it like that. I'm just like, if I feel tension or a tight area and I'm like, this might hurt, you know, and I'm like laying into them or something, I'll start deep breathing. And then, like I said, most of them will key in and do it themselves. But yeah, maybe that's what I'm doing. I don't know.
And that's what I thought of earlier when I had asked you the empath question, because I remember you saying you always feel a flow or a transfer of energy through people when you're massaging with your hands. And I've noticed that, like, even in a spot where, like, in my back, I had, for lack of words, had an accident and fell. And I was holding a lot of tension up in my back and my shoulders, and I have no AC joint on my right side. And I didn't realize it, but like my shoulder was like cocked up, almost touching my ear, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And you do have to do those deep breathing. You have to let it down, 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%.
It's crazy when you just took a deep breath, and I did too.
Right? Yeah, I saw you look over at me.
I mean, all of us is like,
yeah. But it helps, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it brought my shoulder.
It's funny because that's the practice I do every morning. So my morning routine is I wake up and I get ready. I put my clothes on, and before walking out the door, and it's early and it's 2:30 in the morning, but I sit down. Sometimes I sit down, sometimes I lay down, and Jess is baffled how I don't fall asleep. I'm baffled how I don't. But I do the 4 seconds in, hold 4 seconds, 6 seconds out, and I do that for maybe 15 to 30 seconds, and I meditate for 10 minutes.
That's great.
Yeah, I use the Headspace app, and that's usually how they say take deep breath.
I've been hearing a lot about that.
I like it. I enjoy it. Every day they have like a different meditation, and the meditation practice itself is the same, but they'll kind of preface it with a thought and an intention for the meditation.
Cool. Yeah.
So that's been my daily routine, but I find when I take those deep breaths, it's almost like I know time doesn't slow down. I know the world around me doesn't slow down, but it kind of like allows me to center myself, kind of center with my intention, and then kind of really release.
So to go off of that, it is scientifically proven that it relaxes the mind. And I always say, not to sound weird or anything, but wherever the mind goes, the body follows.
Yeah.
So, just that, it does something to relax the parasympathetic nervous system, and just those simple deep breaths. That's what I'm telling you. Like, I just sometimes just have to start. Some clients just start breathing.
Just breathe. Yeah.
Just breathe. Lord, I when I lived, going back to Atlanta, that was like a whole newfound stress that I came encounter with, because people in the traffic and coming in there, I would see like stress fumes just like going off the people. I'm like, calm down, take a deep breath. You're here. You're going to be fine. Like, just, bring it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, so deep breathing. Yeah.
Got to work on my breathing.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah. Which I'm sure when you were going into starting your business, there was a lot of deep breath sessions, because I know you were talking about some of the challenges that you had to come across and how that was a journey in itself.
Yeah. Well, I was graced with a couple of cheerleaders in my corner.
Yeah.
And I had a very special person take me under their wing, and she was a marketing guru, and she was just like, let's do this.
Nice.
And she really helped guided me to, figuring out a name, getting a domain address, finding a studio. I mean, pretty much everything was like on me, but she was just kind of guiding me. And I, from this day, I always thank her, for taking me under her wing. And she said, honey, I just pushed you out the bird's nest. Like everything else you did, on your own. So that's, I still hold her dear to me.
So what are some of the biggest, I guess, challenges of running your own business, and also some of the biggest, I guess, benefits of running your own business?
So balance is huge in any part of life, I would say, but balancing my physical work with like the mental stuff that I also have to do, as far as because I hate to say, but massaging to me is second nature. I could literally, and it sounds funny, I could do it in my sleep. That's how like organic it is.
Yeah.
So when I have to sit down and do paperwork and figure out and do social media and keep up with all that stuff, yeah, it's probably about time that I bring on some hired help, to help me in that sense. But that's probably one of the biggest I don't know, adversity or whatever. Yeah. But no, it's great. And, I'm very thankful that I have a job where I get to go listen to, very soothing music and relax my client. I always tell my clients, like, I'm equally as relaxed as you are. Sometimes we both have massage brain afterwards. So I'm super thankful I don't have to, have deadlines and have a boss yelling at me and like have that stressful work environment. So, I mean, that's always been a plus, and as I was even told by a friend, like, I think you're the most successful out of our friends. And I was like, really? And he was like, well, you do what you love and you get paid for it. And like, you absolutely love what you do and you're good at it.
Yeah. And that's like, really what this podcast is all about. You don't have to make millions and have private jets or anything. It's just loving what you're doing and being able to make a living off of it.
Yeah.
It's an interesting question, because so people go to you when they're stressed to relieve stress, but do you ever get stressed at work?
Probably not. I would more so no. I don't. I mean, I have, even if clients are, stressed or upset when they come to me, they leave happy with a smile on their face. So, I've been told that I might pick up some of their stuff. And I mean, my husband's even told me, like, you need to go do something about that because you're bringing home people's stuff, and I never realize it or whatever. But, in Atlanta, I had acupuncture done, and she always told me that, like, you're carrying around a 60-pound suitcase of stress, and you need to do more grounding exercises and, stuff like that. So I got to get better about that. But yeah, but the benefit is working for yourself. I mean, obviously, your hours are more flexible.
Which thanks for taking the time to be here today.
Yes, no problem. But I don't know, like I love that aspect of it and just kind of calling the shots. And I mean, I am as professional as I want to be, and I am. I'm very professional, but I can wear whatever I want. I can wear a red and black lumberjack flannel, wrapped around my waist or whatever, So I keep it classy, I keep it cool, and I think my clients love that too. But I'm super professional in what I do, and I think they can feel that as well. And I don't know, it's great.
Yeah. It seems like you get to be yourself, which is awesome. And I think that's what a lot of people, when they ask me, they say, what do you like about your job the most? Yeah. And when I'd sit with my bosses and my higher ups and ask for critiques, literally some of the critiques they'd give me, they're like, when you're off camera, you're like this, and when you're on camera, you kind of, close up a little bit. They're like, be more Ted. And I'm like, literally my feedback is to be more of myself. And, when it comes down to it, for people who make a living, if you can get paid to be yourself, I think that's something special.
Yes.
So I think that's definitely something when they say, hey, you're the most successful out of your friends, it's probably because they envy the comfort of what you have in your own role. One question I always ask on the podcast, and you can be as open and as vulnerable as you'd like, but I always like to ask, what was one of the biggest challenges you've overcome in your life that gives you confidence to really take on whatever comes ahead, whether it was, in fact, opening the business, going out on your own, or moving back from Atlanta, whatever thing like jumps out at you when you hear that?
I think it was opening my business.
Yeah.
Because it was super scary, and I had attempted it like once or twice and got discouraged. But as soon as it happened, and I mean, I'm telling you, like, things that would happen in my life were like leading up to that. And I always knew there was something coming, if that sounds weird. Like my dad used to say that too. He was like, girl, I don't know if you have magical powers or something, but like there is something special about you, and you're just like on the brink of it right now, and I feel like that's where I am right now. I'm just like on the brink of it. So I'm super excited just to see where this goes, and where my family, my life, like, all my future decisions and everything just can take us, and just super excited. But yeah, that was huge for me. And it opened me up spiritually, opened me up intuitively. So there's been a lot of growth over this past decade, and it's prompted me to be the businesswoman that I am today. So super thankful for it and
That's
everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And not to, I guess, overuse the weather puns. I used to be a meteorologist, hence the name of the podcast being No Rain, No Rainbows. Okay. There's a lot of weather puns in here, but talking about you just sensing something and knowing something, I've used the term, it's almost like smelling the rain before you feel the first raindrop, where you know something's in the air and it's on the way. So I love that, and I'm pretty sure you have a lot more growth to be doing over the next decade. What are some of the rainbows you're chasing right now in terms of some goals that you're aiming for or hoping to accomplish either in 2020 or within the decade?
So I'm calling them intentions. I have a lot of intentions, and I'm working on setting more goals, I would say. But right now they're just, just to become more healthier for myself, my family, my clients, mentally, spiritually, like all of that, all of the above, which is everybody's, kind of intention, the start of the new year. But, obviously growing, just putting myself more out there. We filmed something last week that, today is my first podcast ever airing. So,
putting the pressure on you.
Yeah, I love, my husband said it. He was like, get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like, I love that saying. And, so I just want like my family to see growth in themselves as well. And, And, collectively, like, we can just, take on the world.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, my main goal is to travel the world, but I know that it's going to take some time. And, I'm newlywed 2 years, and we got married on New Year's Eve. So it's so fun. Just looking back, and, his and I, our story and journey of being, girlfriend and boyfriend, now to husband and wife, has been over 2 decades.
Wow.
So he was actually the first person that ever told me, like, you're really good with your hands. Like, you should work with your hands one day.
Yeah.
So I have to give him credit for that.
And here we are, full circle.
Here
Shout
we
out to
are,
hubby.
Yes. So
Nice.
yeah.
That's good.
Well, Leann, where can folks reach out to you and connect with you, and maybe come into one of your sessions and get a little bit of
anyone looking to intern?
Yeah.
Oh
Ooh.
yeah. So that's at one of our
I
last
always say that because
series.
you know.
I
We
think one of the best ways to follow me is on Instagram at GVL Love Local Therapy.
Okay.
That I post a lot on there. Of course, I'm on Facebook, Love Local Therapy. You can find me there. I do have a website, lovelocaltherapy.com. I am located off of between Woodruff and Roper Mountain Road. I kind of hate saying Woodruff Road, but it's actually a pretty convenient space, and I love it. It's behind Fresh Market and Bonefish Grill.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, so it's right there, tucked in a little studio that my friend, she has part of. This is new for me. I've been there since October, but I absolutely love it. I'm there with probably about 5 other massage therapists.
Oh, nice.
We're all independent businesses. There's one esthetician beside me as well. But we're all very supportive of one another. It's not competition, and we refer back and forth, and we've all at one point or another worked together too. So the energy is really great there. A lot of people do say that. They're like, I like the energy here. So
Yeah.
it's a great place. But
I might just stop by and probably just try and catch some of the vibes.
yes, come on in. Good,
Yeah.
good vibes only, please.
I love it. I love it. Well, Leann, thank you so much, and I think you're well on your way. I'm excited to see the journey, and for folks that made it to the end of the podcast, my main takeaway from this was learning how to breathe.
Good.
I think a lot of times, because I feel as though the universe, the world throws things at us that we should start paying attention to. And between posts I've seen on Instagram, audiobook I'm listening to literally on the way here was talking about breathing through your whole body, and it's just, okay, this is, rule of threes. This is the 3rd time today.
Oh, cool.
I was hit with the
cool.
breathing. So I really want to drive that home. Take deep breaths,
Nice.
and maybe practice the 4 seconds in, hold 4 seconds, and 4 seconds out. And balance. Practicing balance in our lives is something that I think I definitely need to work on.
Everybody and everything.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, like, even skincare. I do skincare. I'm like, it's dry outside. You need something a little heavier.
Yeah.
Balance it out.
Yeah.
You just got to find balance in everything.
Yeah, I need to restock on my lotion. Usually I have
Yeah.
lotion all over the place. I have lotion in the car, lotion at work, lotion at home. But lotion, chapstick, those are my
Go-to. Winter
my-
go-tos?
Yeah, my winter go-tos. I need those. I need
Chapstick's
those.
in my left pocket always.
Always have to have the chapstick on you. Well, folks, I hope you got a lot of value from this. Leann, thank you once again. I'll have the links on how folks can reach out to you
Awesome.
on in the show notes. So, of
Yes.
course, we'll be linking that. And for anybody that made it to the end, as we always say, everybody wants the sunshine, but they don't want the rain. But you can't get the pleasure without a little pain. Let's grow. The No Rain, No Rainbows podcast is recorded at Camaraderie, a collective workspace in Greenville, South Carolina, right off the Swamp Rabbit Trail. If you're looking for a place to grow your business, network with other professionals, and establish your own workspace, Camaraderie is the place to do so.